Oi, oi, all right. How's it going? I'm Grant, you're you. This is the Doodle Review coming through with a new album to give a spin, chat some fraff about, and then assign an arbitrary point to score to. Today, we're going to shout out Smoke and Fiction by Los Angeles rockabilly punk rock heroes X. X are one of the original LA punk bands. Formed in 1977, their peers were groups like the Germs and Black Flag. However, where those bands were dialing up the speed and aggression in such a way that would lead them to the sound we'd come to know as hardcore, X stayed truer to that initial spirit of punk, which was rooted in rock and roll. The band's debut, breakthrough, and now classic album Los Angeles sits a little more comfortably alongside Nevermind the Bollocks or Ramones or even New York Dolls than it does the first 4 years or GI. Representative of the diversity and open nature of punk in those early days, though, X still very much ran in the same circles as their harder, more chaotic counterparts, but it was their focus on traditional pop structures, the duetting vocals of male-female duo John Doe and Exene Cervenka, and a unique undercurrent of 50s rockabilly that saw this band rise to the top of their scene and branch out slightly into the mainstream. In fact, when Los Angeles was released, it was the eminent critic of the time, Robert Christgau, that said X make a smart argument for a desperately stupid scene. I guess time makes fools of us all because while I, like many others, still rate X and particularly that debut record quite highly, I don't think you can deny that Black Flag or even the Germs had a bigger impact on the trajectory of music in the long term. So to say the scene was stupid is mental, and to insinuate that X was the best of the scene is short-sighted no matter how great they actually were. X had a chaotic career after their debut, with more albums, a bigger play for commercial success, compromises to achieve that, and ultimately the loss of founding members. Zombie versions of X went on and off hiatus, embarked on tours, and released live albums and comps through the 90s and early 2000s. But as of 2005, the original lineup did return and toured pretty consistently across the decade and a half to follow. In 2019, the band decided to get back into the studio, resulting in Alphabet Land, X's first album of original music in 17 years. The record came out in 2020, and honestly, after not having delved into any of the group's other work post Los Angeles, it landed to me like a banger follow up to a killer debut. That first record was recorded by Doors organist Ray Manzarek, and as a result, the album carries with it some quirky keyboard moments that, while add character, you could argue are ill fitting. Alphabet Land is just straight up punk rockabilly, cleaned up with modern production, but retaining the crackle of the high energy live performances. Drummer DJ Bonebreak's delivery was wound tight, super punchy, and drove the record through its short 27 minutes. It was a fantastic example of a band coming back to the studio after many years and just smashing it. Alphabet Land was so genuinely great. Was not surprised to hear the band would be releasing a new record, but I was surprised to find that they'd kind of pre-announced Smoke and Fiction as their very last. Mainly because for a band called X, ending on their ninth record and not making it to 10 seems like a total missed opportunity. But immediately when you put this LP on, while it might be another 4 years later and time's not stopping for these members who are all knocking on for 70. It's again wound tight, spring loaded, and ready to jump out the box. Bonebreak is still hitting that stiff up-tempo groove and really creates a momentum throughout the track list. Ruby Church is the opener and sets the bar high for this last outing. The simple descending chord progression in the chorus is a deceptive earworm despite its basic approach, and I love the classic tremolo applied to those ringing rockabilly chords in the verse. This is quickly followed by Sweet Till the Bitter End, which has a really cool lick capping off the rhythm guitar of the chorus. Winding Up Time has a slick surf rock riff at its core, which is smooth enough that it would work at a much slower tempo and soundtrack, a late night drive through Los Angeles Pulp Fiction style. But the band managed to merge this riff with a scratchy, hyperactive punk rock rager and make it sound great, even though it's played twice as fast as it probably should be. Big Black X has a cathartic melancholy to it, such that it could maybe have made for a better album closer, considering the finality of this record, rather than where it actually sits in the track list. Putting it at the end, though, would probably highlight the track's glaring issue for me, which is that the ending just kind of comes to a sputtering close rather than a climax. And that's maybe an issue a few times on Smoke and Fiction. While I'm sad this might be the last X record, I do feel the energy just starting to fade by the time we get to the last track, Baby and All. In the end, though, some tiredness aside, and a couple of moments I rolled my eyes at, like the alphabet themed lyrics of Struggle, this is a remarkably strong showing for a band 45 years into it and a great way to cap their career. Not quite as good as Alphabet Land for me, but a banger nonetheless. I'm going to give this one an 8. And before we completely knock it on the head, I'm going to introduce a new component to the ranking system, the list, the buy list. So we know the rating, but does X Smoke and Fiction make this list? For those that don't know, this is basically an ever-growing, intimidating list of albums that I would like to own on vinyl if I can find it, at a reasonable price. It's like years long now. And does X make that list? Well, definitely. I've busted out Alphabet Land a couple of times, and I expect to do the same with this. So got to get it on there. With that out of the way, it is time to knock it on the head. Let me know what you're saying about this album in the comments. If you've heard it, obviously let me know. If you haven't, go and hear it, come back, let me know. Check out other reviews linked in the description, and if you can be asked to do all that, you may as well subscribe, stick around, share some thoughts, show some love, or just tell some abuse in the comments, and I'll see you in the next video. Nice one. Cheers, mate. Mine, there you go. Take care. Cheers. Bye.